asking for the community to consider pursuing this project. There are some other communities that have been able to secure speed cameras that are pole-mounted through this grant program available to them, and we would like to pursue that as well. Josh Woodrich, one of our patrol officers, has put together the work and has submitted the documentation to pursue this grant. We need to have an open discussion on it. The 2025 Cuyahoga County Supplemental Grant Program makes awards to help strengthen cities, encourage regional collaboration, and improve quality of life for our residents. And last fall, interestingly enough, and we have her here tonight with us, Dolores Moman, who is present, and a longtime resident. My kids grew up with hers, and she's expressed some concern when we've had temporary control devices on Harvard Road where she lives, has really done a reasonable job in mediating some of the traffic speed that we see on our main thoroughfares. This program would enable us to have a permanent set of devices that could be put on our main streets to be able to manage and control the process. The Woodmere has that, and we've been, Chief Roberts has been considering this for some time, and I think it's an appropriate thing for us to pursue. The project installation of the total is a total cost for there would be 8 of these control solar-powered signs that would be a total cost of $31,760. Service Director Zugan has agreed to assist with some of the soft costs and involved with mostly labor to install and attach the poles. In addition to the sign itself, we will purchase Street Smart data collection and reporting software to evaluate the effectiveness of the program, and we'll generate charts and graphs with information that will help us understand the number of speeders, the average speed that they are seeing. As many of you know, particularly on Harvard Road, people are either going to the highway or leaving the highway, and those going to the highway are accelerating down Harvard Road to get to the speed that they want to be on the freeway, and vice versa when they're coming off. This will enable at least people to be conscious of the fact that they are well exceeding the speed limits. And we have found, I think, over time where they have been installed temporarily, people have slowed down, and I think that's important on our streets. According to Chief Roberts, over 200 motorists in just 2023 were cited for excessive speed. Our desires complement similar traffic calming programs in the area with Pepper Pike and Woodmere, and we'd much rather obtain compliance with our speed laws through awareness as opposed to costly citations. So we bring this to you. It has to be brought in a public meeting, and I don't know if you want to add anything, Chief Roberts.
Chief Roberts, to the microphone, please. Thank you.
Yeah,
There'll be 8 of these that we would get?
that is the intention.
We decide.
We'd put them on both Harvard, Lander.
That about covers, is this on?
So it's closer to you? The round circle thing, the black thing?
There? Round circle thing. Happy to do it.
Yep.
So that about covers all of it. I want to be clear that we're asking if you all think this to be a good use of these funds that are made possible in the grant. It is something that we've been talking about for a while in the police department. When Ms. Moman was kind enough to call and echo the same things, she mentioned Woodmere, and that's when I asked Patrolman Josh Woodrich to look into it, and he really did a lot of the heavy lifting here, and he found out that they too see the value in this and sought funding in the same way we're asking if you think is a good idea. They deployed their signs, they're permanent now. Currently our signs are battery operated, and that takes a lot of operational necessity to keep them charged in, changed out. And then from time to time, it makes sense for us to remove them from the pole, take them to a different location, maybe Pike or Brainerd or somewhere else. And that's when she was noticing, hey, it feels like when they're missing, I feel even more speedings happening, things like that.
Boldened to speed.
Yeah, maybe. And I have to be honest, in my own personal driving, when I see them, I slow down. You just do. So I like them, and I would like them even more if they were permanent. But again, I'm asking if you all think this is a good use of seeking those funds to support the project.
These,
The grant would pay for the whole thing aside from
The labor,
Labor.
the labor from the service department.
the soft costs, maybe of labor and maybe even the poles. We'll have to talk about that.
And would we put them all around the village?
Well, if we have 8 of them, our idea would be to use the arterial roads, Lander, Miles, Brainerd, Harvard. And if I have 8 of them, I'd like to do them in both directions on either road, as opposed to maybe start putting them on secondary streets. Because that, to me, would be the most bang for our buck. We would catch the most attention. We'll decide later whether they go west of Brainerd on Harvard, things like that. Because if we get into the divided roadways, maybe I lose effectiveness. I want to be more in the residential portion.
I have 2 questions. Do these operate the same way as the others where it says slow down and then thank you and?
There's with the software, I don't want to say endless messaging, but there's plenty of messaging available for it.
And then is there a camera component to it as well? Do they catch the speeders or?
No,
No,
it's
no.
a speed measuring device only with software to back up data that we could utilize and will utilize.
No identification, even though they don't get a ticket.
There's no desire to do that either. Sorry?
So that money could be used for like vests or training or anything.
I didn't understand.
Is there other things that funds could be used for, like police vests, safety vests, or training or anything like that, or
I have not.
what you have in those other areas is what I'm asking.
Oh, yeah, we are well equipped in other areas, and I don't even know if this particular funding source is a viable option for any of that.
Yeah, just thought I would ask
Yeah,
it.
what I came to understand in regards to the pursuit of this, this particular funding is that it was available for this kind of device.
Well,
And-
certainly in Woodmere's history, they were successful in acquiring the funding for the project that they wanted to fund. So that's where we naturally went to see if you agree with our decision to do the project in the first place. And then do you agree that we could seek funding from this source to execute it?
As long as we have Ms. Moman here, and she's been instrumental in helping bring this about, would you like to?
Can I just ask a quick question? Can I just ask one quick question? Are there other things that we could apply for that you are aware of at all from this particular grant? Or have we looked into that at all, or not really?
I have not looked into other uses of this particular grant because I didn't have a stimuli to go, hey, I wonder what else this funding could be used for. I'm certain there are many other requests coming in that have nothing to do with traffic calming, if that answers the question.
Make them say speed up if someone's going too slow, please. Appreciate that.
Person behind me on Lander that gets mad because I go too slow?
Before we get to Ms. Moman, there is one public comment that came in by email from Jagmeet Dhingra. And this person says, my suggestion is to apply for grants for setting up streetlights, especially on Harvard. Driving in the winter is dark with snow and treacherous weather can be made much safer by setting up streetlights on Harvard Road. And that we did receive, and we did want to read that into the record for all your consideration here.
I can tell you, in regards to that, there have been other comments that go to street lighting in different areas of the community, and I'm currently looking into a program that would enable us to do that. It'll be a totally separate endeavor. We can get photo cell lighting that would be effective.
Mind coming up and,
Can you read?
While she's coming up, I just want to say that I
Grant is only thing you can use.
I think that this is a great way to help reduce speeding without being punitive by educating. I love that that's our on that. I think it's very wise.
I appreciate that. Our police department is not interested in writing for revenue ever. We will write for safety, and if I don't have to write, I would rather not.
Right.
And if this works for that, we're really behind it.
How cute.
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening, Mayor Klein and
Sign in.
You might want to lower the microphone for her.
Yeah, Mike, help her out.
Justine. How's that?
Good.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay, then. Good evening, Mayor Klein and council members. My name is Dolores Moman, a longtime resident of Orange Village for 35-plus years. I've seen many changes in the village, most enhancing our community, with one exception: the traffic and the speeding on Harvard and other streets in the community. Many drivers exit off of I-271 traveling east onto Harvard Road at a high rate of speed. It's a tragic accident waiting to happen. Last year, I called Chief Roberts and suggested possibly looking into speed signs for our area. I've noticed them in Woodmere, Beechwood, Shaker, and Cleveland Heights. When I drive past one, it's a subtle reminder to slow down, and I look at my speed. I've also noticed that the car in front of me is doing the same thing. As I mentioned, it's a subtle reminder to say, take a look, slow down. When driving home and attempting to turn into my driveway, I reduce my speed, I turn on my signal, so the driver behind me is aware that I'm turning. I've almost been hit several times due to speeding cars on my bumper. My friends and family have experienced the same thing when they come to visit. Several times, cars have gone around me when I'm turning into my driveway, and they head towards the ongoing traffic. And I saw that once, and I did call the police, but of course, the driver had already gone. But it scared me so badly, I had to reach out to someone. Let's be proactive before something terrible happens. I think these signs can be another tool to keep our community safe. I would like to thank Chief Roberts for following up with me and looking into securing a grant for the purchase of these signs. And I would also like to say thank you for this opportunity for me to express my concerns. Thank you very much.
Can you make sure you sign in there? Just put your name and address.
Right here, there's a clipboard.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You live on Harvard Road, just to be clear? Okay.
Yep.
Brainerd, about 4 or 5 houses.
Okay, thank you. Did you want me to read that? So in the grant language here, it does say, the supplemental grant program is a competitive grant that makes awards to help strengthen cities, encourage regional collaboration, and improve the quality of life for county residents. So it's fairly broad, I would say.
Yeah, but that's
Are you limited to applying for just one grant? Particular one?
Apply, I don't know that we could, whether or not we could apply for multiple grants. But
how much is it? You're going,
31,000, he said.
31,
The maximum award of this grant is $50,000. 50.
Worth going for a little more and getting more of these?
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Get more of these to get to 50,000? I mean, you're saying we're getting, you want to get 8. Should we try and get 10 and?
I would defer that to you guys.
Okay.
I feel we could do really nice coverage in the village with
All right.
I think it's a great idea. I do have some concerns about the speeding within the developments as well. And especially because I feel like kids are more likely in the developments to be running across the street. Whereas kids on Harvard, I think, their parents have been pretty well trained them, don't cross that street for chasing something. I'm very concerned about the speeding that's going on inside the developments. I'm not suggesting that these signs are the answer to that, but I do think it's something that we should take a look at. Because that would be tragic to have a child hit by a speeding car. I mean, I think it sounds great. I think, you know, I'm glad that you brought it forward. I'm glad that you looked into it. I'm glad you guys found grant money for it, even better. I mean, it just all around sounds very nice. I think it's a great way to solve the problem without being punitive to people. I think it's wonderful. I just mentioned within the developments, I think the speeding is an issue as well. And I'm not sure what I don't know if you get those little signs that with the flag, you know, kids at play or something. I don't know what the answer is, but something.
Your kids live here, those signs are up, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what
To
the answer
that
is.
point, and I wouldn't disagree with you, you know, the developments certainly are areas where we see a lot more. I know a couple people that significantly exceed the speed limits within the development areas of Orangewood, Orange Hill, Orange Tree, Lakes of Orange. If these run, let's say, for talking purposes, 4,000 apiece, plus the installation and the software, assuming that number ends up being a little over 4,000, we could probably get another, 5 or 6 of those and not exceed the maximum available. If they're gonna grant us 31.7, they might grant us 48.
Again, I defer to your judgment there for the secondary roads. Our main was the arterial roads, because those are the ones seeing the most influx in traffic. The neighborhoods, it is my desire, and I will be communicating it soon to the police department in a meeting we're having coming up, my first meeting with the department. We're going to be very visible inside the developments, including the enforcement of traffic, stop signs, speeding, things like that. And enforcement doesn't always mean citations, especially in our residential neighborhoods. At first, it can mean warnings. And if you tally up a warning or two, then you might have earned a speeding ticket or a stop sign ticket. I would like to connect in the developments more with us than I'm able to do on the arterial roads with the transient traffic. But if this body deems it worthy of seeking more for those secondary roads, I can support that as well.
I think it's a wonderful idea, and Mrs. Moman, I thank you for your foresight in this. I can't tell you the number of times I'm notoriously a slow driver. I'm the one that people sit behind and say, like, honk and are right up at my bumper. And I've been on Lander and I've been on Harvard when I'm going up the street and I'm going the speed limit or just below it, and somebody's on my tail, and I get to one of those signs and I point to the sign, like, you can get mad at me, but I'm going the speed limit, and there is a speed limit for a reason. So I love the idea of the signs. I think they're very helpful.
I mean, I would say, if we can get more of them within the grants, and I think maybe it makes sense to put a couple of them in the neighborhoods as well, in addition to higher presence, like you mentioned too, so.
I don't know if in the neighborhoods, like, where do you put them? Right in front of somebody's house? Like, I don't know. That's my only, just visually, I don't know if that's I mean, I do love your idea of sort of the police then being sort of more present in the neighborhoods.
Well,
I don't know what the answer is. I don't know.
if nothing else, then on Pike and Emory and Jackson, I mean, streets like that, I think. I mean, I don't think it makes sense to leave money on the table if there's money there to be had.
Do we have a more likely chance of getting it if we ask for less than we would if we ask for more?
I don't have any idea. I don't know. I honestly don't know. If they believe in the project and we score the points that are possible, 50, 30, I don't think they look at it like, oh, let's fund this one because it's less.
I think our grant proposal has some research and showing justifications for why we believe that would be helpful, and the numbers that would back it up, and that kind of thing.
Look, the arterial roads in the village are the ones seeing the most impact on traffic. That was a gift of the off-ramp alone at Harvard. So that's where we focused our energy, but I see if there's money left on the table and you all agree with that, I can support that too. And if we decide we can't find a comfortable place to put it in Orangewood or Orange Tree because people don't want to look at it every day in front of their house, then maybe we do put it on Pike. I wouldn't mind seeing one there, or Jackson, or keep going, so.
Yeah. Vote on this, or how does this work? Do we just,
Yeah, next week's.
oh, okay. Okay,
This is the required public discussion.
gotcha, okay. Any other comments? Thank you. Moving on, is there a motion to approve the special council meeting minutes of August 7th, 2024?
So moved.
Stacy, is there a second?
I'll sec.
Heard Jeff, thank you. Any questions or comments? Anything need updating, changes, updating?
I think there was one thing, hold on, I'm just looking for it. Next one. There was the one that, where I talked about it is the August 7th one, I don't know where it went now. Losing my- Committee reports.
You're
It's
looking
the
at,
committee reports. It's under mine with committee reports. Just under Party in the Park, you have suggested move the meeting to September, and it's suggest moving the Party in the Park. It's minor, but it's
I'll fix it.
very minor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me put
I
a,
knew I'd see it.
Any other comments? Anna, will you please call roll?
Vincent,
Yes.
Foster. Madden. Perry.
Yes.
Alner.
Yes.
Silver.
Yes. Your motion to approve the council meeting minutes of August 14th, 2024.
I'll make that motion.
Kim, is there a second? Stacy, I think I heard you.
Yes.
Any questions or comments? Please call roll.
Vincent.
Yes.
Foster. Madden.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Alner.
Yes.
Silver. Yes. Getting better.
Are there any audience comments related to agenda items? Please state your name and address and sign in as well on the clipboard.
Too many papers.
Hi, Stacy Golden, 4969 Westwood Crest. Council and Mayor, you guys have a couple ordinances on the agenda tonight that I would like to give some feedback for. Particularly ordinance 2414 to adopt and implement land bank reutilization of non-productive land situated in the village. And I'm wondering how many parcels of land have there been within the village that would have qualified for the definition in chapter 5722?
Now we're aware of one.
One. And is that current? Is that in the last 5 years, 10 years overall?
Probably within the last 5 years. There are a couple others that could, but they're not available yet to that.
Okay. So if this proposed ordinance were added to the village charter, what kind of impact is it going to have on the village?
Quite simply, allows us to get land directly through the court system where land has been seized or foreclosed upon that would normally go into the county land bank. Instead of it going into the county land bank, it would come directly to Orange Village at no cost to Orange Village. Otherwise, we would have to acquire it if we wanted. From the county gives the village and or other municipalities the opportunity to have right of first refusal to acquire that property through the land bank process. This would enable us to circumvent that requirement.
Disagree with the cost. There's always a cost to something. We're going to have to maintain it, right? Until we develop it with something. It's got to be maintained. Do we have the staff and the facilities and the administrative and service staff to maintain parcels of land?
We currently have a number of properties that the city owns and maintains that are natural lands that have been in some way either deeded to the village or given to the village, and we have to take care of them.
How much is this going to cost additionally? And who's going to foot the bill? The residents?
Through our taxes and our service. But we end up with open space that we would not otherwise have control of.
Have we gotten any additional data from a nonpartisan party to do a study of how adding this to our charter will benefit us? You've spoken about being good stewards of our land, correct?
Yes.
So how, if the village is going to get, I guess, first dibs at it, how is that being good stewards of land, allowing other people to get the property and, you know, potentially build on it if we get first dibs?
Private market, that land could be acquired. It could be acquired either through the village to sell it to a builder to build if that's appropriate, or to maintain it as open space. In this particular, this one parcel that that stimulated this whole conversation is an appropriate connection to our park when it would become available to allow us to have an access to Emery Road directly from the park. And it would be used, you know, perhaps by the village for additional parking for the pavilion. And we'll have to maintain it, of course, much the same way as we maintain the park here. And ultimately, we'll have to maintain the property that will come to the village through the, from the Weintraub parcel. Those are our responsibility. We want open space, green space. We have to be the responsible parties for them. Otherwise, the individual resident has to take care of that property.
Yeah, just because a property would become available through this land bank doesn't mean we would have to take advantage of it and obtain it. If we feel it'd be an albatross to us financially, we would just opt not to obtain that property.
I hope that's the case.
It would all be on a
Doing
case
it
by
to do
case
it.
basis. It's
It's just that so we all understand the process. If a home is and I'm not as familiar with this process, so actually Mr. Byron or maybe Judd, anyone here may be better suited to answer these questions. If a home is foreclosed upon, what happens to that home? What happens to that property?
This is for vacant land.
Vacant land.
Okay, I'm sorry, for what, if the property, the land is foreclosed upon though? That's what happens. Somebody owns the property and they don't pay their property taxes, or they don't do they either don't pay they borrowed from the bank to buy that land, or they didn't pay their property taxes. They didn't pay somebody, so they lose the property. So if you can just sort of explain the process.
Vacant land, it goes delinquent on its taxes. When the county forecloses, the interests in that land that are held by prior owners or mortgagees or whomever, rather than going to sheriff's sale, the property comes to the village if it has implemented a land bank. It's only for vacant land. So if there's a house on the property, we won't be acquiring it. It'll be sold at sheriff's sale.
I didn't mean to confuse matters. I apologize if I did that.
I'm glad you clarified that.
So it's good to have that sort of knowledge of the process then. And so the owner of that land, I'm assuming, must be given some notices so that they know in advance what they need to do in order to not lose that land, right?
Absolutely. When the county treasurer employs the prosecutor to foreclose on a property because the taxes are delinquent, the property owner gets notice. The property on Emery Road, one of the problems there was that it's a Mexican corporation that owns the property, and the county didn't get service on that corporation. They need to reopen it and go through the process again. I think the hope is that this land bank would be in place so that if they go through the process again and they foreclose on the owner of the property, the village would be in a position to receive the property.
So just so that I'm clear, so the benefits are potentially Orange Village is able to obtain land without having to buy it from Cuyahoga County, and Orange Village Council would vote, or I'm assuming, on each piece of property that would be considered, and in doing so, the council would consider the costs and the benefits, the pros and the cons,
Absolutely.
and have a discussion about all of that before they vote, or we vote, whoever's on council at the time.
Which we did a few months ago.
I must point out on this particular property, before we got into this sort of the weeds of the service, the property was made available to the village. There was a previous interested party in acquiring that parcel to build a house on it. They came to discover that property was unbuildable, which we kind of knew that they were going to find that out at some point. And the county then had no source for it, and we had expressed an interest in that property if it should come available. At that time, they offered us the property, I think, for $45,000. We negotiated with them to purchase the property for $35,000, which was done in council, with council's approval. And then the whole process stopped because the service on the property hadn't been executed in a legal manner. And so it went back into its, I guess I'll call it, state of limbo, where it sits today. And, you know, our hope, our view is that perhaps when it does come back a second time, we can get it for not the $35,000, but for nothing. So we'll see how that works out.
So you have to make this ordinance in our village charter so that you can pursue that possibly in the future.
Where you're getting the idea that it's in the village's charter.
It's not.
This is not a charter amendment. This is legislation that adopts a land bank which is authorized by the Ohio Revised Code. This is the legislation that allows the village to exercise the authority that the Ohio Revised Code provides.
So we have to get that into ours in order to exercise it.
Council
We can't
has-
just stay,
Council has to enact the ordinance under state law in order to exercise the authority that the Ohio Revised Code provides to municipalities. Council has to enact an ordinance.
This is something that I'm assuming other municipalities have enacted similar things, which is what the law allows for.
Especially the communities, well, Cuyahoga County's been very active in land bank activities. Communities that do have a lot of vacant land do have land banks.
which makes sense because they're much larger.
Right.
And that's why I asked how many parcels of land have we had in this village that would help justify why we might need to add this to ours.
I think, so this ordinance in particular, 2024-14, is really aimed at helping us acquire one piece of property, and it's possible in the future other properties theoretically could come into play. Is that a true?
That's fair.
It's a tool that's available if the need arises.
It is, and I will say, it is something that council, it's why we're having, we have these open meetings so that we can all discuss it, and we will take a vote, right? This is the third reading, so we'll take a vote.
Everyone, we will be discussing this ordinance in a moment when it comes up on the agenda, so.
Okay.
Any other questions regarding this ordinance?
No, but I thank you for explaining it.
Thank you for your question.
The other issue that I wanted to mention, and it's on for only the second reading, is 2418. And this ordinance is coming about to amend Section 10509. And I feel it's evident that this request for an amendment is a direct result of the public hearing that was held on August 1st to determine who can and cannot vote on issues presented to council when a member is physically or virtually present. I hope that you have familiarity with, the charter and the ordinances. And I'm wondering, has there been any discussion since that time about what the actual process is and why you guys are proposing this change now?
May I? Can I? This was actually my proposal. We can look up which meeting it was at. I don't recall. But this was my proposal because there is an ordinance currently in effect and has been in effect for several years. And somebody should correct me if I misspeak at any point, okay? But the ordinance was in effect for several years. I, as a new council member, am still learning the ordinances that we have. And so I became aware that when someone is absent from a meeting and wants to attend virtually, there is a process for that, and there is an ordinance that allows for that. And in that process, as it currently stands, this person would notify the council president, and the council president, in his or her sole discretion, would determine whether that person can attend virtually. And by attend virtually, that means that they can actually participate in discussion and vote. And again, anybody, please speak up if I say something. So when I became aware of that, I believe, after doing some reading and research, I believe personally that it's best if that decision is not in the sole discretion of our council president, and it's not anything against our current council president or any council president. I believe that it's a better thing to have that decision made by the council as a whole. And accordingly, I made the motion, which was then voted upon by council, to have Mr. Byron draft the changes to the ordinance, which would allow for that decision to be made by council as a whole. And that is what we have as our second reading, which I have made some changes and we'll be discussing. But the reason it came about is because I became aware of something and I felt like I thought it could be improved. And I suspect that throughout the year, as a new council member, as I learn of things, it could happen again. That, it's already been on the books. It's something that's been done for a long time, but I didn't know about it. And then when I learn about it, I think maybe we could look at it again. So this was at my motion, and that's how it came about.
I think you asked if there's been any further discussion. Legally, we cannot discuss legislation outside, as a body, we cannot discuss it outside of meetings. So it was on for first reading at the last meeting, it'll be on for second reading, and we'll discuss it momentarily.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Anything else?
Yeah.
No.
Thank you. All right, moving on to old business. Ordinance 2024-14, an ordinance to adopt and implement the procedures under Chapter 5722 of the Ohio Revised Code to facilitate the reutilization of non-productive lands situated in the Village of Orange and declaring an emergency. This is on for third reading. We did just have a discussion about it. Does anyone have anything further that they?
Just have one other question. Does the county encourage this? Do they want to get the land back to the various villages and cities, or do they prefer to hold on to it?
I would think that they'd like it better there. If they keep it, they get the money.
If they get money.
It's interesting, we're, to the earlier question about do a lot of other communities have this, they don't, because they're not aware of the ability to have it. I became aware of the ability to have it through the discussions that I had with the county land bank in regards to these parcels over on Emery Road. And they said, well, you can set up your own land bank and it will come directly to you. So that's when we decided we would pursue this opportunity. It's a tool to have in the bag. We can use it, just with our own discretion. That being said, there are not a lot of other communities that even have this in place, even though they could. They just tend not to be aware of it. Some of the communities where there's a lot more activity in that domain have it, they're aware of it. But of the communities in our circle, we're probably one of the few that would have it. And I think it's a great opportunity to at least have a tool that we can make use of to the benefit of our village.
I'd like to make a motion to pass ordinance 2024-14.
But
I'll make a
There's more
I have a
discussion.
question, though, so,
motion from Stacy, Lisa seconded.
Can have it on the table before
Yeah.
the
oh, okay.
start.
Now you may.
I just had a question, that's all. Just for transparency, and I think I do know the answer, but I think we should put the answer out there, right? Many times when we have an ordinance on our agenda, we have "and declaring an emergency." I think it would be beneficial for our residents to hear why do we put that on there and what that means.
So if you don't, if you're not declaring an emergency, the ordinance becomes effective, I believe it's 30 days? After it is approved. Declaring an emergency indicates it is effective immediately.
Okay, so it's not that it's actually like an emergency, like call the
Right.
paramedics or whatever, you know what I mean?
Just gets
Simply
implemented.
that it allows something to become effective immediately instead of 30 days.
Correct.
I just wanted to,
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Anna, will you please call roll?
Vincent,
Yes.
Foster. Madden,
Yes.
Perry, Allner,
yes.
Silver.
Yes. Ordinance 2024-15, an ordinance amending section 933.01B to revise the fees to be charged to residents and non-residents for emergency medical services, repealing certain ordinances and declaring an emergency. This is on for the third reading. Any other questions or comments on the, I will make a motion actually to approve. Thank you. 2024-14. Stacy seconded. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Chief, do you know of anything further to add? Didn't think so. Anna, please call roll.
Vincent,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Madden,
Yes.
Perry, Allner,
Yes.
Silver.
Yes. Moving on, ordinance 2024-18, an ordinance amending section 105.09, location of meetings, authorization of electronic meetings and the electronic attendance at meetings of chapter 105, open meetings of the codified ordinances of Orange Village. This is on for second reading. This is the second item she was asking about earlier. Any other questions or comments on this one?
I sent some change in wording today. I know it was late, I apologize, but a lot of issues. So, do you happen to have it, Anna, where we could, or do you have, oh, you do have it? Oh, it's just not, okay, as long as, okay, as long as you guys all have it, that's all.
I'll come down and get it.
You emailed it out, didn't you?
I did, but some people
I see
don't,
that one, thanks.
printers don't work.
I have the packet.
I know, but I don't think that's in.
It's, so the changes are in blue.
there. I sent it today. Why is my computer not working?
Are there any other questions or comments on this? We'll not be voting on it tonight. It's only second reading.
I just want to bring something up. Philosophically, I have no issue with this at all. I think it's fine. You know, this was set up originally during the pandemic, and it makes sense to evolve, and I have no problem with that. We already approve absences as a group anyway when somebody's not going to be here. The only question I have is more physically. I can tell you from having gone through this appropriately a couple months ago, before this was in place, the work that Anna has to do to get this set up is extreme. There's a lot that goes into setting up a remote. And for the person who's remote, it also is a lot of time. It's to make sure it's running, it's to make sure everybody can hear, it's to make sure people here can hear what they're saying and everything like that. I think that's all a necessity and that's truly important. But if we expect her to go through this whole thing on spec that somebody, if we're voting last minute, because that's when we're together, are we expecting Anna to set this up every single time on spec that might happen? I just said something, we need to think about the logistics.
I don't think we need to,
If I could, logistically, the reason I wrote this the way I did was I was very cognizant of that issue. the administration of the council's activity is something that is difficult to do. You guys elect a council president at the beginning of the year, and a lot of the administration of council's activity is vested in the president for the term that the president's in office. What this does is it allows the president to make a determination, as initially drafted, before your changes are coming in. This puts a check on the council president by all of council, but allows him to do the initial organization of the meeting without having to have a committee, to form a committee, to find a committee, to get together and have a vote to do this thing. So that's why, as just a matter of practical implementation, I would recommend the initial version that I understand where you're going, but it's, I wouldn't say sole discretion of the municipal body, a majority of the municipal body, because that, I mean, if it's a body that's involved, it's not sole discretion of an individual, which is where that word is coming from. And this is, it puts a process in place to direct the person to a person who's going to be absent has to tell the chair of the public body, but it doesn't say then what's supposed to happen after that happens.
That was my question as well. Like, if someone does want to join a meeting remotely, what's the process for them?
My recommendation is to go in the direction that we're talking about, have the confirming vote of council, so it's not just a single person's decision, ultimately, whether or not the person can participate, but do that in the meeting at the time of the meeting.
But that's not what the motion was for originally. That's not what we discussed originally. And that, I mean, and I believe you took some liberties. So having done this myself, having called in and attended virtually myself, I didn't find it to be any more difficult than logging onto a Zoom meeting, which frankly, I've set them up myself. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I can appreciate that, but let me just, is there some, I mean, you don't have to have a big screen, do you? You can't, wait, let me just finish.
Well, you
okay?
asked a question, so
No,
it was a hearing
no,
situation. So that was different.
I don't think it is. I think it's fine to have a laptop set up and, the whole point of this is to take that out of the decision-making authority of the president of council. So in your view, this plays out two ways. President of council says yes, she sets it up, we all vote, comes to us and we all vote yes or no, okay? The secondary role is the president of council says no, and it never comes to us? That defeats the whole purpose.
Well, how would it come to us now? Like, let's say, okay, Ryan is not here tonight, for example. He's out of town. For work. If he wanted to join this remotely, what would the process be for him to get approval? I mean, because he wants to come, it would automatically come to a vote. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we would have, there's no other way to do it. The whole point of it was to relieve the council president from the potential liability of making a decision which could then be put solely on the council president. So when a decision, if I might, Mr. Byron.
There?
You're acting in your capacity as council president.
Okay.
Not like, I'm not speaking about that, okay? I'm not talking about that. The reality is that if okay, I mean, let's just speak very, if you had said, you said yes to Mrs. Vincent, to Councilwoman Vincent attending remotely. And when I made the motion, if you will all recall, I even said, had it been up to council's vote, I would have voted to allow her to attend because I felt that it was such an important issue that all voices should be heard. I did put that on the record, and it was not about you, nor was it about you, okay? But I did believe that with respect to transparency and with respect to what we are showing our residents, and allowing the residents to know who is making what decisions, there is culpability in people's minds, potentially, that they could say, well, The council president was going to vote this way. Mrs. Vincent voted that way, and he knew she was going to vote that way, and therefore he allowed her to attend. Whereas, if you do it as the council, the body of council making that decision, it's the majority of council voting, that is what it is. There's no anybody thinking there's anything about it, right? We've all made, we can have a discussion or not, or we can make our votes. Everybody can see exactly how we voted. It's very transparent.
I don't think anyone has issues with the appropriateness of it. I think the question is just the logistically if it's feasible, I think is the concern.
And I guess,
And I'm not saying it is or isn't, I'm just trying to figure out if it is or isn't.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly the question I raised. I said philosophically, I have no problem with it. And really, all it's doing is confirming what we already do if somebody's not going to be here on a regular meeting, right? We allow for their absence and we vote on it as a group. So I have no problem with that.
Right.
I'm just thinking, so for example, and I don't know Ryan's situation, and tonight is not a night he needed to be excused, so we didn't go through that. But if let's say he was sick, or no, I won't even use him because let's say somebody's sick and they find out last minute and they don't want to spread germs and they stay home, but they want to be a part of that council meeting, to set up and do that logistically. I will tell you that Anna and I did go through a lot to be on. I mean, I was away, I was out of state. We wanted to make sure, because it was a public hearing, we wanted to make sure the public could hear what I was saying, that I could hear what the public was saying, that the video was present so everybody could see and react however they would see and react as if I were here. There were a lot of logistics that went into place. I can tell you that. We went through them, we had to get set up early. So to do that last minute, I think for Anna or whoever the clerk is for the future, and or the person that's away, especially if it is a sick situation, it just takes logistically more time and effort to have to set it up, not knowing if last minute something's going to happen. So again, I don't disagree. The way our attorney set it up is so that you can know in advance. We can say in advance, we can get that approval that yes, and then it could still be voted on. If you vote it down, then you went through the trouble of setting it up, but okay, then you don't end up doing it.
what are you doing if the council president says no? And the body of council would have voted for it to happen.
There are two different scenarios that we're looking at here. One is, and maybe the ordinance could be better drafted than it is. This is based on what the state law used to provide. But the decision to hold a meeting via electronic means happens when the body is not in session. By definition, a decision to hold a meeting happens when it's not, and the mayor has the authority to call a special meeting. What this did originally was, if the mayor wants to call a special meeting and the council president, let's say there's another outbreak of a communicable disease and nobody can meet in person. In operation, the mayor would have to go to the council president and say, we need to hold a meeting, we need to have it done via remote means. You cannot have a vote of the body on that point because the body's not in session at that time. So that's why that aspect, the decision to hold a completely remote meeting, has to be a unilateral decision. Then you justify it after the fact by a vote of the body. The second one is if there's one person who's going to be missing, then the discretion of the council president is, I guess what you could do is say that the person shall have, you're concerned that somebody will be told no, that they can't, political, not this council president, not
Right.
any particular council member.
Generically, yes.
Somebody is going to be told no because, well, if we have that person there, we're going to have a positive vote for something I don't want, because that's the way it would have to play. Yeah. And for that, I would just say that there's always a risk. Theoretically, the council president could call a meeting when only certain members of council are available to call a special meeting. There's always that risk that's out there. I'm not saying it's going to be actualized. And if column shenanigans are played, I think there are remedies for that are not legal in character, but political. I mean, if people learn that there are things going on, and it doesn't, you know, it's not Marcus of Queensberry rules that you're playing by, there could be consequences to that. But I have a problem with your amendment just because it deals with that first aspect. I think the legislation is drafted, gets to your concern that there is unchecked power. I don't know how you get away from that, really, frankly.
Maybe we need to go back to the drawing board and rework this. I mean, but this is what, you know, and if you want to say something like, if the council member contacts the president of council and the president of council says yes, then that will be voted on by the entire body of council. But yes, I want it in here, addressed as to what happens if the council president would have said no. That's exactly what I'm trying to deal with. And I understand that you disagree, that you don't think it's necessary, that you think that that can be taken care of politically. But my concern is that that's not what I want to have happen, to have it taken care of politically, that it should be taken care of in here, so that the council members can all have a vote. And that's what we discussed, and that's what we voted on. So the wording, yes, is inartful and needs some work. But certainly, you're a very intelligent man. I'm certain that we can come up with wording that will effectuate that.
A quick question.
Yeah.
Before COVID, we didn't have the ability to do this.
Correct.
Then, when COVID hit, we had to scramble around, and we enacted something right away, made it so we could do it on Zoom.
Well, the state permitted it, correct, Steve, once COVID hit?
And then we did enact some legislation at some point to allow us to use Zoom to conduct our business. Before that wasn't possible. Honestly, the more we keep talking about this, the more I think that we should revert back to not allowing council members to Zoom in, because I think people, even in a worse situation, can take advantage of that and just say, I don't feel like getting dressed today, I'm not coming, Zoom me in. And if you've got multiple members doing that, it's going to be a mess. I think now that we've kind of
Well, but,
I'm not even for this legislation.
you know, at the same time, we
Revert back to council members need to be present to vote.
And then I'm fine with that. I like certainty and I like transparency for people. So what I didn't like was the fact that it's in the sole discretion of one person as to whether a council member can attend remotely or not. That's what I was trying to change. So if
that the council president has sole discretion on. That's
there are.
That's the structure of it. And, I mean, do we get away with, do we eliminate all of those things at the council president?
I didn't bring all those things up. This is the one that I brought up.
Council wants to go in Ms. Perry's direction. All we would have to do is amend the ordinance to repeal section 105.09, and you'll go back to the way it was before.
I'll make a motion to add the words repeal.
We'd want to just, we'd have to change a lot of it, but it would be to amend the ordinance to repeal 105.09.
If we had another situation where the world shuts down again, we can always go back and do it.
The motion,
Explain to me when I'm ready.
it's a motion
Taking
to,
out the whole thing.
direct the law director to amend 2024-18.
Do we need to table this first?
Well, we'd amend this ordinance.
I think we would continue the discussion to figure out which way we were going to go and then take a vote. It's only going to be one or the other. It's not going to be both.
Yeah, as is, as proposed to be amended, as proposed to be amended again, or repealed. So there are 4 options on the table.
So we've been back in person post-COVID for several years now, and I believe we've had 2 meetings where a member of council attended via Zoom. It was when you got sworn in the special meeting for you a couple weeks ago. So what you're talking about, Lisa, where people get lazy and don't want to get dressed and come in, I don't see that ever being an issue and ever being the case.
We've had people on this committee who would have done that.
Isn't that the case that,
It's now, but I think that this is,
That's what this either the ordinance as is or the new ordinance would kind of be in place to prevent that from happening.
but I think the council will be taking a vote, so council members can kind of get a feel if somebody's abusing, and the reality is that you don't have to vote yes for somebody to attend. I mean, council could vote, no, you can't attend remotely. I mean, that's a possibility too. It's just that we are being very transparent about, then you know exactly how every council member voted about whether this person could attend remotely or not.
So is there a,
That's a motion.
does she have a motion out?
Director,
To what?
to do.
Do what?
It would be a motion to authorize the law director to amend ordinance 2024-18 to repeal section 105.09.
So that would come on for first reading next week, and this would come on for third reading. And then if we decided to go with Lisa's direction,
Yeah, we could do it. If the motion passes, it means a majority of council thinks that the legislative vehicle of 2024-18 should be used to repeal 105.09. So you'd be making a decision, and I'd put that's a very easy ordinance to do. There won't be any draftsmanship and difficult drafting involved.
So that's, no one seconded.
Is there a second to Lisa's motion? I hear no second. So, yes.
Now, we can't consider this ordinance in an amendment to the ordinance unless and until you suspend the rules, because you're not, the order of operation is you get a motion to adopt, then you do a motion to amend. You vote on the motion to amend, and then you vote on the motion to adopt. You can only do all of that if you have suspended the rules. So you can either wait a week, we could try to do a redrafting or exercise of some type to fix the technical problem we have in this.
I'm fine with, I don't think we need to rush something. I would rather that we wait a week and do it right. I'm not suggesting that the verbiage that I gave is, be all end all. I'm happy to be corrected and, and make it wording that everybody likes.
so would it go back to first reading then, or it'd still be
This
third?
is just a draft.
Go to first reading if you dramatically change the character of the ordinance. So an ordinance to repeal this section, I think would revert back to, because it's basically a very different ordinance, but we're not doing that. So any other amendments, as long as the character of the ordinance is the same, you can modify and not go back to first reading. We do that all the time.
Okay.
So as I said, I'm happy to have the wording, played with more. That's fine.
Want to work with Steve in the next week to get the
Before the day
wording?
before?
And then we'll be in for third reading next week.
Right.
Hold it up a week.
Thank you, everyone, for the discussion. I think this was important.
October, it has to go like 1, 2, 3. In case it's not done, I get it.
All right, moving on to new business. Ordinance 2024-19, an ordinance amending section 143.01 and 143.15 of the codified ordinances of Orange Village to change the composition of the police department and to modify the employees eligible to qualify as police/safety officers, repealing certain ordinances and declaring an emergency. This is on for first reading, and administration is requesting suspension of the rules. Chief Roberts, did you want to speak to this one?
Sure, I think I can be pretty brief. This is a cost-neutral idea of the structure of the police department. To have an executive lieutenant, to me, is an older, archaic, distinguishing mark of the second in command. And I believe a lieutenant's position to be a patrol commander's position. and the deputy chief to be the second in command overall. And I'm just asking to make that distinction with this change. We're not adding more positions, we're just reclassifying executive lieutenant to deputy chief.
This isn't something that has to go through the union, part of an agreement, or anything like that.
The lieutenants, deputy chief, if approved, and myself are not members of that unit. And then on the other side, it's removing the clerk of mayor's court, administrative secretary as eligible for EMT pay, I believe. Is that what we're?
And she could be a police safety officer?
Police safety officer. It is my belief that the person, for lack of a better term, stationed at a desk, never to use that skill set for our residents out in the field, need not have that stipend. It's just not a good use of that funding, so.
Just have one notation on page 2 of that ordinance, 143.15. I think it just needs an S at the end of the word member. The secretary who are not members of the collective bargaining unit, the way I read it.
Yeah.
On 15,
Right. Got changed there. Yeah, but the suspension of the rules is being requested. And any comments on this?
Again, just for transparency, can we explain what administration request suspension of the rules means?
We pass it on the, without going through three readings. So I will make a motion to suspend the rules. Is there,
She's asking if there's a reason why it's being requested.
do you want to know what that means?
I did ask the first, but if you want to answer the second, feel free. I mean, that's,
I think that's for you to,
it's, you know.
The reason that we want to do it is, as Chief Roberts has reorganized the police department, we would like to be able to appoint the deputy chief at our next meeting. And in order to be able to do that, we have to have the position available for that. Same thing with Christine's position.
And the motion to suspend.
Anne, will you please call roll on suspension of the rules?
Vincent,
Yes.
Foster. Madden. Perry. Allner. Silver.
Yes. All right, is there a motion to approve ordinance 2024-19?
Moved.
Thank you, Stacy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kim. Any other questions or comments on this? All right, Anna, please call roll.
Vincent,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Madden.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Allner. Silver.
Yes. Ordinance 2024-20, an ordinance providing compensation for village employees, repealing certain ordinances, and declaring an emergency. This is on for the first reading, and there is a request for suspension of the rules. Mayor, do you want to cover this one?
If you create the position of deputy chief, you can't pay the deputy chief unless you pass this ordinance.
Paid position?
Just an honorary position.
And then there are a couple of other little tweaks. What do we do? Later on, you can see in the benefits section. You've got notes 7 and 8, which are new.
The one thing that I know, oh,
Would you like to make a motion to suspend the rules?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Lisa. I will second the motion to suspend the rules. Anna, will you please call roll on suspension of the rules?
Vincent,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Madden.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Allner.
Yes.
Silver.
Yes. Are there any comments or questions? Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2024-20?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions or comments?
I just have a question about Exhibit B. It's 2020, oh,
Lisa had.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I thought I read in this that this was to prepay EMT for their training. Is that part of this? pay, Judd, about this really briefly.
Yeah, the
Pay to help EMTs
certification.
ahead of time.
EMTs to pay for their certification.
Memory's being jogged. A long time ago, we used to do that. It was a volunteer fire department back then, so it was very different. But when we did that, what we found was that we were paying a lot for EMTs to be trained, and then they would work here for a few months and quit and go to another community who would not pay where they really wanted to be and would not pay for their training. So we ended up changing it to not paying for it, having people pay that fee themselves. This looks like it includes that fee, and I would propose that we have some stipulation in that part of it that an employee has to work here a year before they're reimbursed, or that after, if they quit before that year's up, that we somehow deduct that amount from them, so that we're not subsidizing training for all of Cuyahoga County.
Chief Genova, do you have any comments on that? Sure. Curious to hear what you think.
I wasn't aware that that was a change in the ordinance this evening. What I can say, it's been a long time since we've sent anybody for, to obtain their EMT certification or the like. I do vaguely remember, and this goes back
Compensation.
15+ years, is that I believe there was some sort of agreement that the employee would sign. I'd probably even be hard-pressed to dig out a copy of what that template would look like.
Could you point me to what section you're looking at? The thing that this does is
Used to.
formalizes that collective bargaining members. So collective bargaining members already get the EMT certification bump of
It's a stipend.
a stipend of $1,200 to $3,200 as determined in the union agreement. So this gives that stipend to everybody. This does not pay for the training of firefighters. Sorry.
Okay.
For EMT.
For this compensates the non-union members of the police department for maintaining EMT certification in the same method that the union members are compensated. It's not a training stipend.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Wasn't sure about, thank you.
It also provides that service department this is the cross-training thing that the service department does.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Just a general question. In Exhibit B, it says annual payment 2023, 24, 25. I'm just curious why 2023, we're not doing anything retrospectively, correct? Is it just because this is? Contract is
Union
part of
contract.
We were still in 2023 when we finally did it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, we have a motion and a second. All right, please call the roll. Done.
Vincent,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Madden, Perry, Allner, Silver.
Yes. Ordinance 2024-21, an ordinance amending subsection 521.06A, duty to keep sidewalks in repair and clean of Chapter 521, Health, Safety, and Sanitation, to require the repair of the village's recreational trails in certain circumstances, repealing certain ordinances, and declaring an emergency. This is on for first reading. Mayor, did you want to speak to this? Steve?
I'm sorry, I was kibitzing with the name.
That's okay.
Okay, I know what this is. So I'll talk to it. This came through the building department. It is an it is an ordinance. We've had some incidents, with new houses being built on the main streets where we have our recreational trails. We've had incidents where the builders of those homes have done damage to the trails, and then everybody throws up their hand, well, the city's responsible for that. We don't think we should be responsible for damage that somebody else does to our, what?
Talking in the mic.
Thought I was.
No, because as soon as you turn your head, it
Okay.
stops.
Well, with the number of homes that have been built lately on our main streets where the recreational trails occur, we've had incidents where there has been damage done to the recreational trails requiring repairs or replacement. The damage has been done by a contractor or subcontractor for whoever is building the home. The way that the recreational trails ordinance is written is that the village is responsible for the maintenance of those trails. But it isn't appropriate for us to be responsible for the damage someone else does to them. And this ordinance gives the authority to the building department to require that those trails be repaired or replaced as necessary by damages from third parties.
Recall that the village collects a deposit at the commencement of any of these projects that go through the building department to secure the repair of village infrastructure. So if they had damaged the roadway, let's say they brought a heavy piece of equipment on the roadway and tore it up, they'd be responsible for that, and we have a deposit that secures that. This would just allow the building department to say, hey, you took out that recreational trail, you need to fix it, or we'll fix it and charge it back to you. So that's what this ordinance would do.
Yeah, we've had a couple incidents where this has occurred, where the owner is sort of after the fact, and the subcontractor that may have done the damage isn't around, and how do we, who do we go after? And so this gives the building department some authority to be able to pursue it appropriately.
This doesn't change anything about the sidewalks currently, it's just when it affects the trails. Okay.
Questions or comments? Moving on, Resolution 2024-9, a resolution of support by the Village of Orange, Ohio, for the replacement of the Cuyahoga County cigarette tax for arts and culture. Mayor, did you want to speak to this one, I assume?
Absolutely. The county, in 2006, instituted a cigarette tax, 1.5 cents per cigarette, to support arts and culture in the county. It was reapproved in 2015. It is on the ballot for 2024. And this is a resolution that we've been asked by the Cuyahoga Arts and Culture for their support, for our support of this, pursuing this tax, the renewal of this tax. And I'm very much in support of it. It does a great deal for the county. I, in fact, wrote an article that you'll see in the newsletter today about it. And it's an important component of our communities to provide the resources to enable arts and culture to thrive in Northeast Ohio. And Cuyahoga Arts and Culture has done an absolutely spectacular job over the last nearly 20 years of implementing grants and funding for a variety of different arts-related and culture-related programs in Northeast Ohio. They've brought nearly $533 million in economic benefit to the community, created nearly 10,200 jobs in the community through this. They attract creative talent to Northeast Ohio and have also created tourist destination through the arts that we have in Northeast Ohio. So supporting this tax levy, as a community, we should get behind it, and I hope people will vote for it come November. And so I would ask that we pass this resolution. The only other city that has passed the resolution, but others will follow, is Lakewood. So we're like early adopters, but I think we should be, and we've been involved with Cuyahoga Arts and Culture, at least I have, since its arrival on the scene in Northeast Ohio.
If this does not pass in November, I assume it just means their funding is cut substantially, is that what?
Include vaping and all that type of stuff, because vaping wasn't around back then.
Fortunately, in fact, I served as the chair of the political members committee for some time, and we tried to petition the state to include vaping and now marijuana in that funds, but the state legislature hasn't seen fit to include that. So money's only available through cigarettes.
That's unfortunate.
I'm guessing their funding has been down then, since this was enacted, because I'm guessing a lot of the smoking has transitioned from cigarettes to vaping.
It's one of the great
Question.
smoking cessation programs, is you tax it and people quit smoking.
Motion.
Second it.
Is there a second? Any other questions or comments? All right, Anna, please call roll.
Vincent,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Madden,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Allner,
Yes.
Silver.
Yes. Moving on, Resolution 2024-10, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer. Who is? Where?
So Resolution 24-10, underneath the title, Council of Cuyahoga. We met in special session.
Yeah. Okay. Anna says she's already aware then has corrected it.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Want to speak to this?
You know, this is a housekeeping thing. If we want to collect taxes, we have to send this to Cuyahoga County every year.
And this does not raise taxes, it's the continuation of the existing taxes that the village has levied in the past.
Bottom number is the one that used to be the infrastructure levy. 3.70. That's the one that became permanent. It used to be variable and have to go to a vote every few years, but
All right, I will make a motion to pass Resolution 2024-10. Is there a second?
Second.
Stacy, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, Anna, please call roll.
Vincent,
Yes.
Foster, Madden, Perry,
yes.
Allner,
Yes.
Silver.
Yes. Are there any audience comments relating to matters which advance the good of the village? All right, moving on. Comments, Mayor Klein.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody's patience here. This has been an extensive meeting. A number of announcements that you should be aware of. Hydrant flushing is currently taking place. You may have noticed yellow, orange, or brown tinted water coming from your faucet. If this happens, simply run your cold water tap for several minutes until the water runs clear. This temporary discoloration only affects the appearance of the water. It is not a health or safety risk. However, you may want to avoid doing laundry during scheduled flushing times, as the discoloration could stain light-colored clothing. While it can seem like a waste of water, flushing of hydrants is essential to keep you safe in the event of a fire emergency, that we know that our hydrants are operational and flowing when they need to be. I don't know if you noticed this today, but the East Tech Rescue Team is currently training at the Orange Village. They're training on trench rescue, and there is a rather large pit that has been dug at the southeast corner of the Service Department land. So be careful back there. We don't want to have to rescue you. But they have a really great program. They have to train in a number of different specific technical rescue areas, and this group is working on trench rescue this week. Computer flag household hazardous waste collection will be this Friday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Orange Village Service Department Recycle Center, 4680 Lander Road. Orange Community Farmers Market will be again this Saturday. This will be the last market of the year. It will go from 8 a.m. till noon at the Orange Village Amphitheater. Parking is located off of Pike Drive It's been a great program. I can't speak enough about how much I appreciate the work that the group has done to produce and deliver on the farmers and artisans market over there. The products that have been made available and sold have been wonderful, and a lot of people are, I think, really enjoying them. I think we'll be looking at that for the future.
And that is the official voted on name, correct, now?
Official voted on name is the Orange Community Farmers Market and coloring contest. There will be a coloring contest this week for kids, and there are prizes for the drawings that they will color. To let you know, the community-wide survey has been completed. The preliminary report has been submitted to the committee for initial review. The plan is to make a formal presentation to council at the October 2nd meeting.
I don't think we're gonna have a meeting that day. That's Rosh Hashanah, so I would expect we won't have a meeting that day. Yeah.
It'll have to be the next. It'll have to be the 9th.
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you on that, but
Thanks, appreciate
Yeah.
you doing that. Good catch. Thanks, Brent, good catch. The reports will be made available to council members in advance so you can have a chance to look at it before the presentation occurs. Scrap tire collection begins on Monday, September 9th, and continues through Friday, September 20th. You may take your tires that are removed from the rims to the service department. I don't think they want the rims, so Monday to Friday between 7 and 3. Branch chipping will be on Monday, September 16th. Please have your branches placed with cut side facing the road prior to 7 a.m. on Monday. If you would like to order wood chips to be delivered free to your home, please visit our website at orangevillage.com. Finally, just as a sort of a warning here, the tree preservation ordinance will be coming to council next week to be referred to the Planning Commission for final development. We have to get this in place as quickly as we can at this point because it will affect the submission and final development plan for the Omni project that they want to move forward with. And that's all, folks.
All right. It was brought up last month briefly, Orange for the Holidays. We are going to attempt to move forward with it. I want to thank Phil and Jeff for stepping up and offering to help this year. I still need to get in touch with Pinecrest to make sure that they are in.
We have reached out to them, so.
We reached out to them, we just haven't heard back. I will do that before the next meeting, because if they aren't willing to participate, then it probably doesn't make much sense. I also want to thank Bob Zugan and the service department. I know there was a water main break in Orange Hill last Friday morning. It turned out to be related to the sprinkler system in the neighborhood, but I know he and his team were out there on Saturday evening of a holiday weekend, so we do appreciate all your efforts with that, certainly. That is all that I had. Moving on to comments by council members. Stacey Vincent.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, or good night, I guess. On two personal notes, I just want to first humbly express my condolences to the families and friends of Hirsch and all of the other hostage victims whose lives were taken away from them in such a violent way. Hirsch's parents became the voice of everyone's parents, and their pain is felt by millions around the country and world. I pray that the wrongful deaths of these beautiful young men and women will be the impetus for the freeing of all of the remaining hostages. It needs to happen now. I was also devastated today to learn of yet another school shooting, this one in Georgia. My heart goes out to the entire community. It could happen anywhere, and it's scary, and it needs to stop. There's no easy transition from that, but building on community, I know the mayor already mentioned about the farmers market. We are anticipating more than 30 vendors and lots of great items. I do want to give a shout out once again to our service crew for assisting with setup and cleanup, to Anna for posting it, to the mayor for sharing about it, and especially all of our vendors and Elizabeth Van Valkenburg for her incredible work spearheading this. Her energy and enthusiasm is what made this thrive, and look for her as the next slice of orange in our newsletter. And just thank you to everybody who's participated in that. The Orange School Centennial is coming up in just a few weeks, and the schools are looking for everybody to get involved. I am pleased to share that Orange Village will be well represented with our mayor and 2 of our service vehicles driven by our amazing first responders in the parade. I think the mayor's going to be atop a ladder and waving to people as we go.
Wrapping it in.
If you or anyone you know are an alum, a former staff member, a current staff member, or have a community group that you would like to participate in the parade, please let me know ASAP or shoot me an email. We want to get as many people involved. It is a cross-community event. You can also check out more information about the Centennial at www.orangeschools.org/centennial. I want to congratulate all of the Orange Village students and all of the students who were among the 26 inducted into the National Honor Society this morning. We do have a councilperson's daughter who was one of those people, so congratulations. As you drive by or into the stadium parking lot, you will likely see something you haven't seen before. Seniors have been permitted to paint the spots they have purchased for the year through a donation to the PTA. You can check out their artistic talents online or drive by yourself to check it out. It's worth the trip. The board approved renovations for the Pepper Pike Learning Center, which you know serves the entire community, including securing the front entrance. Construction is set to begin this fall. Details, including costs, are available on the school website. School board next meets on Monday, September 9th. Planning and zoning met yesterday. The committee approved an addition to a house on Emery and the placement of a new bank sign at Pinecrest. Expected to be discussed in 2 weeks are the preliminary plans for the development of Lakes of Orange Phase 8, which you'll probably hear about more next week unless the mayor wants to mention anything about it now. We'll just wait on that for next week. It's been a long meeting. Council President Silver has already talked about Orange for the holidays, so we'll keep you posted on that. I just want to thank everybody for great discussions tonight. I appreciate it.
Jeff Foster.
That, you know, as a new person, I enjoy learning more and more, and I feel more engaged with the community than I ever have. I just look forward to contributing more and being more of a part of it.
Thank you. Phil Madden. All right, thank you. Lisa Perry.
Garden is wrapping up, and the garden has been kindly invited to have a booth at the farmers market. If anybody is listening from the garden group, please feel free to donate items at the picnic table and the basket today, tomorrow, and Friday, and they'll be sold, and it will hopefully take away some of our costs for supporting the garden. That's it.
Thank you. Kim Olner.
And say they grow wonderful tomatoes because I bought some last time. Okay, so I've heard from several community members that they're concerned about us as a body and our ethics. And so I am a firm believer in education. I think it's always good to be well educated. I did reach out to the Ohio Ethics Commission Education and Communications manager because they are she's going to be up in our area in Mayfield Village on Monday, November 18th from 10 to 11 a.m. giving an ethics talk, an educational seminar for people who are members of municipalities, public bodies. And I took the liberty of reaching out to find out whether they had space if any of us were interested in attending. They have indicated they have space for any of us who would like to attend but would like to know a number. So it is on Monday, November 18th from 10 to 11 a.m. And all of our members of council and our mayor are welcome to attend should you have the ability in your schedule and have the desire. And if you do, just let me know and I will let them know. It's in Mayfield Village. It's not to indicate that I think that any of us have an ethical issue. It's that I think that education is always a good thing. So Monday, November 18, 10 to 11 a.m. It's a Monday and it's during the day, so that might not work for everybody, but it's an option. And that's it. I mean, I got nothing else.
I just want to mention one more thing. You may have noticed coming into the council chamber that there is a new set of doors. Those are new security doors that are having installed. They're missing a couple pieces of hardware to complete the task. That should be forthcoming next week, and we will have a more secure both council chamber and administrative department when that's completed, hopefully next week.
Great. With that, we will adjourn tonight's meeting. Thank you.